the thing on Twitter. People like to call me Poop B, and I tell them they like to shop at Dick's Sporting Goods. So like at the end of the day, like it's
a nickname that people have tried to actually give you.
B?
Oh yeah, people on the comments they'll call me Poop B.
And we're
back in studio.
oh yeah.
In Los Angeles, live. It feels good, Michael. Man, what a time to be alive, man.
Hey.
You took the line right off the shirt.
Exactly.
Ooh.
And we talked about Cube earlier. Today is a good day, man, because we have a very, 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 very special guest that is joining us here today. And we're going to introduce him very soon. I got to give a shout out. Today is March 9th. 24 years ago, we lost a legend, especially to you hip-hop fans like myself. I consider myself a hip-hop head.
Same here. I'm going to throw my name in there.
Man, rest in peace, Biggie Smalls, the legend. When I came over here to Beverly Hills, I was listening to the what was I listening to? Actually, I Got a Story to Tell, which is one of my favorite Big tracks. I listened to that Kick Through the Door, like everything, man. Biggie is forever a legend, man. But we got us a legend with us. Our guy, Scoop B, man. What's up? How's everything going?
Man, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I love LA.
No, yeah. Hey,
I love LA.
You have to. So when you coming back to Cali?
When that COVID goes away.
Well, we're looking better and better as the weeks go by.
Yep.
I am happy to see that someone from the East Coast is back on the show because it makes me feel a little bit less lonely knowing I am a Celtics fan and I'm stuck in LA.
There you go.
Yeah, it's the worst thing because I'm a big Laker fan, so to have a Celtic fan as my co-host.
Notice how much green
thing.
there is in the background. There's a reason why I did that.
I
mean, it's all that green. It means there's a lot of money in that room. Let me get up.
A lot of money, a lot of luck. We got Isaiah Thomas. We got even Giannis showing up. We got Pierce's jersey. Man, we're rolling.
We got our poster of our show we did with Paul Pierce. So, man, we thank you so much for joining us. For you people out there who don't know who Scoop B Robinson is, you guys need to know. Make sure you guys check him out. We're going to make sure he gives the socials before the show is done.
And also, go ahead and check out his latest feature on Al Jazeera TV yesterday, where he was talking about the importance of athletes' prominence with their voices, as well as what Zlatan said on LeBron, and what Zlatan said in regards to LeBron James.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah, wow stuff, man. But Scoop, man, let everybody know what you got going, what you've been up to lately.
So really and truly, the biggest thing I have going on is Scoop B Radio. We garner 2 to 3 million streams annually. We've had anybody from Pete Sampras to Charles Barkley, Shaq, Kenny Smith, to Milwaukee's Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, DJ Khaled, a myriad of people. But Scoop B Radio is available on all streaming platforms, as well as my partnership with Bovada Sports Betting. I do a show on Instagram Live every Thursday with Lisa Ann.
Okay.
Check that out. Just finished my employment 2.5 years at Heavy.com, where I was a senior writer. And, kind of just right now taking next steps career-wise, full-time. And kind of been having some good conversations with different people. So, yeah, man, I've just been working and staying out the way and, still very active on Twitter as far as news and things going on around, the NBA movement chart. So follow me on Twitter at Scoop B. You can check that out as well.
Man.
Someone's making it big when not only are you appearing on my trending pages on Twitter as well as Instagram stuff, but I also go to my father's house and Al Jazeera TV is on and I see your name pop up talking about Zlatan LeBron. It's like, wow, it's great to see other journalists in our scene really making the wave. So total credit your way for really putting in all the work and hustling as hard as you have been.
True, because you've been in the game for a minute. When did you get your start?
Well, thank you for that compliment, first and foremost. I appreciate it more than anything else because you talked about my start. For me, I started at 12 years old, but at the same time, I feel as though I'm in that digital space. I started in 1997, so I'm telling you my age, but essentially, I started during the Chicago Bulls' Last Dance era. I had a show with the New Jersey Nets called Net Slimming Planet, and hosted with Albert King and Evan Roberts, and I would interview players in the locker room. And remember when that was a thing? You'd be in the locker room.
Yep.
I miss it, man.
And people touching microphones for fun, as jokes.
I heard something like that, but no, really and truly, like, I had a radio show on New York radio, auditioned for it, and that's where I kind of got my start. So I remember being in the locker room as a kid with Adrian Wojnarowski and Chris Broussard and Stephen A. Smith when they were like maybe a little younger than I am now, and if they feel young, I feel younger, and it's definitely a good position to be in. I remember graduating grad school at Hofstra University on Long Island, and living, looking for a job and not being able to find anything, and living in my grandmother's basement apartment, and and really building, like, in that regard, like building from scratch, freelancing everywhere. At one point, I freelanced about 13 different publications.
Wow.
And I remember living in the basement at my grandmother's house, and like I had a double door fridge freezer, and the fridge didn't work, but the freezer side operated as a fridge. It was like reversed, and I didn't have an oven, so I would cook on like crock pots, microwaves.
Oh my God.
And George Foreman grill. And those were early beginnings for me out of grad school.
Man.
It's funny we bring this up because you never really get a chance to hear about a lot of the journalists' journey, as well as how they came to be where they are at this point. And I hate to take it on a similar route, but like for guys like myself and Michael, we're both in our mid-20s, early 30s, if we're going to be honest, for Michael, and trying to make waves in the scene. We're both, freelancing with radio programs, as well as I'm at Fox as a production assistant. So if there was one piece of advice you'd give someone who's in a similar situation as ourselves, what one key piece of advice would you give?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to answer your question, but first, I like the fact that you said journalists, because it made me feel like Fabulous in the song Breathe when he said that you need oxygen masks instead of masks.
Journalists.
I thought that was creative. In answer to your question, honestly, I think the biggest thing is, figure out your niche, like the thing that you enjoy doing. Like basketball for me was always something I enjoyed, but I also remember my mom telling me at a young age, there's more to life than just basketball. And that's hard to tell somebody that's been around the game since I was 6 years old, even before radio. And I feel like, if this is what you really love, you're going to find a way to make it happen. And I think developing relationships is what makes you valuable. And I think, one of the things that's really helped me immensely, I'll say over the last 3 years, is information. And that information came off of building relationships with certain key people, players, front office people in the league, agents, cousins, fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles, cousin baby mama's best friends, all that.
Anyway in the door.
Yeah, anyway you can do it, man. You have to.
Yeah, and I think, that's the key, and I think the other thing is not taking no from someone who's not qualified to tell you yes. A lot of people who are quote unquote gatekeepers, that in my opinion, aren't sugar honey iced tea. And I think at the end of the day, it's being persistent, not taking no from someone who's not qualified to tell you yes, and developing relationships and never being afraid to reinvent yourself a great deal. I thought that, when I finished school, I was a first round draft pick, and, I had to learn digital and really and truly embrace it. Endured a lot of older people telling you what you're not, and younger people listening to older people, but at the same time using social media to your strengths. Like a lot of times you look at under the comments of what people say to people, including myself, about stuff you say, and somebody says something slick to you, like the thing on Twitter, people like to call me Poop B, and I tell them they like to shop at Dick's Sporting Goods. So, at the end of the day, like it's
a nickname that people have tried to actually give you.
B?
Oh yeah, people under comments, they'll call me Poop B, and it's like it's crazy to me, but at the same time, like it's par for the course. So like I'll tell them, like I said, your mother shopped at Dick's Sporting Goods.
I'm flabbergasted that like someone would think that that's one, an insult, and two, anything bad. Like all you're doing is giving you as the original person, Scoopy, more publicity, and they're giving a dumb nickname on Twitter for everyone else to subtweet and go, wow, clever.
These people,
there it is.
yeah, these people are in a Twitter land. You'll learn that there's some crazies out there.
Come on, Twitter, get funny.
Yeah.
Don't at me.
New jokes, better jokes. But
Yeah.
you're in the New York, New Jersey area. So 2 questions. What's your thought on the move with Blake Griffin going to the Nets? Because I believe that it's like Dwight Howard going to the Lakers. It's like, this is all I got, so I'm going to give you everything to try to get this championship. And then what's the feel for the New York Knicks? Like, how is the city, how is that area, New York, New Jersey, feeling about the Knicks? And you have an all-star, Julius Randle, and just a team that's playing much better than what everyone expected.
Well, New York is still the Knicks are still the New York Knicks' town, because they have the established history. From that perspective, you're born a Knicks fan. The Nets started out in New York, but they were on Long Island. They moved to New Jersey and played at Rutgers at the Rack in Piscataway. And then, ended up at Continental Airlines Arena, then Newark, and then Brooklyn. So you got to give respect to the Knicks and that culture. But, the Knicks are playing exciting basketball for a team that's, not made it to the playoffs since 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd, J.R. Smith, and others were on that team. Like, Woods is the head coach now. He's back as an assistant. So I think the Knicks are doing, very well and exceeded a lot of expectations in the first half. But there's still another half or another part of the season to play. So you want them to finish strong.
True.
The Nets are the popular team right now because they have 3 superstars, in Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. But they've got some things they've got to figure out too. And I don't like to use just the center position as the thing they need to fix, because Golden State Warriors won multiple championships without a dominant center. A very point guard in Steph Curry and a supporting cast of Klay Thompson, and in some years, Kevin Durant as the focal point. So, the Nets not having a center, I think is, I don't think that's going to be a hindrance, particularly when you're outscoring teams. But I think, as much as the Lakers have had struggles with injuries, they're one of the top defensive teams in the NBA at large, if not the top. So, if it comes down to a Nets-Lakers matchup, and I know you want to talk about that later, I don't want to tip any plays off, but I do think that when it comes down to it, it's great for basketball at large to both have the Knicks and the Nets to potentially make it to the playoffs. I guess I know how it feels to be in Los Angeles to have the Clippers and the Lakers.
It's an identical situation. That's the thing. The Clippers are always going to be the afterthought, no matter how good they get and no matter how many titles they get.
True.
And even though the Knicks don't have as many titles in comparison as the Lakers, the standard is set. Basketball originated in the East Coast, so it's deeply rooted in the culture and the people. So no matter what you do, it's very divisive, and it's always going to be a set. This is a Knicks town. Just as if a team were to move into Boston or nearby in Massachusetts, it would always be a Celtics state and team, right?
True.
And the Knicks are going to be an exciting team to watch. They're playing with magic for the first start of the season, right? Having guys that were afterthoughts on other organizations are coming in, maybe not afterthoughts, but grade B players that weren't expected to have grade A level talent,
Stepped it up.
and took that step that we never expected. Like, I think
I did, but a year ago.
you can say that, yeah, and I agree to some degree with Julius Randle. I expected it to a degree. I didn't expect him to blossom into an all-star level. I expected him to be, somewhere around a Sabonis level, but not playing
in the
this
East,
well.
I thought he could be an all-star because it's the East. And
Yeah,
he's emerged. RJ Barrett is playing well, and Tibbs is just getting the best out of all of those guys.
yeah,
And they're 18-18, but in the East, that's a
good.
top,
That's
top 5 seed.
and especially
or 5.
considering their history, this is a real improvement based upon where they've been in recent years.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
they say this is a big rich town.
Well, New York.
and with the Nets too. Like I think it is fair to say though, Scoop, that the lack of depth at the center position is a major issue, as well as depth around the wings, big defenders outside of the big three that can run you into the ground any night because all you need is one of them on the court to outscore you in a quarter, right? They're still going to have to deal with facing a team in a 7-game series without that depth and without that wing coverage, as well as 3-point shooters to extend the floor.
You got Roberson, you got Brown, you got Joe
You're going to look at
Harris.
me and tell me Andre Roberson, who airballed more free throws than he made jumpers in the last season he was with OKC, is a legitimate 3-point threat?
Hey, he's a nice guy.
Well, I think that when it comes down to it, I think the Nets have a lot of flexibility because, they were signing 10-day contracts and what have you for Roberson and Iman Shumpert and more. But honestly, what would fortify the perimeter position for Brooklyn a great deal would be if the Nets are able to somehow make a trade with the Thunder to get Trevor Ariza, free Trev. Late last month, early this month, Amari Stoudemire, player development assistant with the Nets, was out in Miami at a volunteer workout. Was actually working out with Greg Monroe, who was the agent, as well as Trevor Ariza and some other pieces there, and which led to some speculation that that could be something that the Nets could be looking to do, and getting Trevor Ariza kind of in a similar situation last season. That Andre Iguodala was in with the Grizzlies and then finding his way to the Miami Heat in the Imperial Finals last season out in the bubble. So, I think Trevor Ariza would be a good addition. But, one thing I think about Brooklyn that is kind of interesting, honestly, really and truly is the fact that they had to trade Jared Allen and Karis LeVert to get James Harden. And I mean, honestly, those conversations that the Nets were having with Houston, the Sixers were having similar conversations. There was talk that Tyrese Maxey, Ben Simmons, and some picks would find their way to Houston. There was even talk of Miami pairing. I know that Tyler Hero was a conversation of contention. Miami's been really big on not getting rid of Tyler Hero, dating back to when Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook were traded to each other. I was told that Chris Paul was going to find his way to Miami, and one of the things of kind of apprehension was the fact that Miami just did not want to give up Hero for Chris Paul, and they saw his value, and then they kept him, and look at where he was last season in the bubble. So
shows you what Pat Riley knows in the scouting that they've done.
It's Chris Paul.
Yeah, I think you're right. Plus, I think there's a loyalty to Kentucky too, as well. Isn't there right? Don't you think? Kentucky, you go to Kentucky?
Yeah.
Let's go Wildcats, baby.
Oh my God.
I was wearing my cat socks yesterday. Big blue.
Man,
hey, the one thing I will say right now is I feel bad for Olivier Sarr. Senior grad transfer, came to our program, thought he was going to get a good amount out of this season. And I feel for him because he's such a great talent and a great player. Like watching him over the last couple of years and then seeing him transfer in, the news was great. And I thought this would be an amazing squad with BJ Boston in them. But world's smallest violin is queued up now.
Man, which is, it's sad, it's Calipari, but all the teams, North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, they're all struggling. So let's get to it. Let's look ahead. Second half of the season is here, starting Thursday.
Woo!
I can't wait.
Let's go.
So Scoop, we're gonna start with you. Who's in the NBA Finals and who's gonna win the championship this year?
Oh, that's a little premature.
I was gonna say it's the deadline, man.
No, I know, but if you can look at it right now, because I don't know if I expect any major moves from any of the major players that's going to really be, too different. Like maybe the Lakers can get a Drummond, do a buyout or anything like that. But
that Drummond situation, I think everybody, I remember a month ago it was Brooklyn was getting them. Now it's the Lakers are getting them. And I just add that, when you look at that situation with Drummond, Kobe Altman and the Cavaliers are not required to buy him out.
No, I agree.
And I'll add that if that's the case, there are teams that are looking like significantly and are offering. Miami is a team that could be a buyer at the trading deadline for Drummond, and that'll kind of tie into your line of questions. Boston is a buyer in that market for, them. You also look at DeMarcus Cousins. The Lakers, as I reported weeks ago, the day he actually got the buyout with Houston, the Lakers are on. There's a mutual interest on both sides. To make that happen, particularly because Boogie has a relationship with the Lakers, and because Boogie has a relationship with Bron and has a relationship with Phil Handy and has a good rapport with Frank Vogel. But the Drummond thing is kind of like a pipe dream, just like with Brooklyn, it was a pipe dream for Drummond, and that's why they had to wait for that buyout and execute their relationships with DeAndre Jordan from the Lob City Clippers days to bring that home. He also has a relationship with Harden and Durant at large, but as well as Kyrie Irving. But I think when you look at that situation with just who's going where, I hate predictions, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Brooklyn is going to the finals just yet. I'd like to see it, but at the same time, you got to give credit to the Philadelphia 76ers from positions 1 through 15 or 16. Is doing I grew up in the Black Baptist Church, and we'll say this: exceedingly and abundantly all that we may ask or think. The Sixers are doing their thing right now. I mean, all the way down to the getting Curry in the offseason and bringing in Dwight Howard. I mean, Dwight wanted a big payday or being able to close games, and that was really where the line of demarcation lied with the Lakers. So you look at that. Then you have Shake Milton, who knows his role. Danny Green, I know, is a curse word in the City of Angels, but he has 3 rings to show for it. But I think that's veteran experience there. They're talking about Ben Simmons as far as the defensive player of the year. The jury's still out. Joel Embiid is the MVP candidate, and I think as much as we pay attention to the big 3 of the Nets, the Sixers have a big 3 too. Tobias Harris gets left out a lot in conversation, but the other thing is this: the Heat are still the NBA's Eastern Conference champions, and they've been surging. And I think at the end of the day, if the Heat are able to lock up Drummond in a trade or what have you, if they're able to get Boogie and he's in tip-top shape and he's doing what he needs to do, that's a conversation as well. So I think it's a little early when you look at the Western Conference. As much as everybody just thinks it's a lock that the Lakers are going to be there, Clippers are playing good basketball.
Exactly. Utah's playing good basketball.
Exactly. You look at the Utah Jazz. I still do think Donovan Mitchell is an MVP candidate, and so I think it's a little early to be making those. My druthers say that it's going to still be a long season because guys are not even playing their best basketball yet.
I'm going to give my final 4 here. Sorry about that. And I think it's going to be Lakers Clippers. We're going to finally get that matchup here in LA. Hopefully we have fans so it can be crazy. I know the New York, New Jersey area wish they can get a Nets conference finals, but you guys got to wait for that one. And then I'm going to say Philly and Brooklyn. I just feel that people underestimate how great Embiid is. Ben Simmons is, he's playing more aggressive. He's playing might be defensive player of the year, at the end to go at it with Gobert. And then, like you said, Tobias Harris, I like Maxey, Shake Milton. They just putting together some great things over there. And Doc Rivers has a chip on his shoulder. He heard all the talk in LA, people, Paul George coming out on shows and saying that it was kind of his fault that he didn't adjust. He's like, I'm going to show you my adjustment. I won on the Eastern Conference before. It's my turn to do it. So I'm going to just give that final 4 right there.
All right. So outright, I don't want the Philadelphia 76ers to win, and I don't want the Brooklyn Nets to win either way. So I'm going to have to root for a Western Conference team. But I do think that we do get the matchup of the 76ers and the Nets. And I think that the 76ers beat the Nets because I think that in all the ways that the Nets have gotten better with the players that they've accrued, the Philadelphia 76ers have experience as a core.
Yeah.
They have a unit experience specifically between Embiid and Simmons. And now that they're being used under a head coach that properly utilizes them and gets the most out of these guys and also the surrounding parts.
Yeah.
We mentioned Maxey, Shake Milton, Curry. These are what people refer to. Yeah, even Danny Green has now got a revival story. These are all pieces that they've put together in this puzzle perfectly. I think that they are the best organized team, top to bottom in the Eastern Conference, legitimately.
And then they have the MVP.
Then
on
they have
team.
the MVP, of course, and Joel Embiid, and that's a store unstoppable, right? Like compared to any other team, the Nets are going to struggle the most against stopping Embiid, and he will draw the most fouls on the biggest names.
And Dwight too. So
and then with the Western Conference, I think it's a foregone conclusion. Again, you have the battle for Los Angeles, and hopefully this year we actually get a battle for Los Angeles.
Foregone conclusion.
I think that
Utah's going to have something.
Utah is good, but I think that they need another year or two of experience of playoff loss in the second round, moving up around and then losing for them to actually take that step. Because we saw what Portland had happen. They had been a first round series team, and then they somehow snuck into the Western Conference Finals to face the Warriors only to get trounced. Right.
Agreed.
So I think that they need a little bit more experience to get grizzled, get there, especially when your main guys are a guy that barely knows how to bounce a ball, but can pass better than anything else. And Joe Ingles and still hit threes. I mean, that man is the most unathletic looking man in the NBA, yet he is my inspiration in the NBA. Let me put it like that. They are a good team, but I do think it's a battle for Los Angeles. And I think this is the year, if any, that the Clippers have a shot to actually beat the Lakers the way that they are constructed. If they play under the radar the way they have, which has worked to their benefit, and they go into the postseason well rested and healthy. They get everyone available, which is a big if because the Clippers are known for load management and also injuries galore. So if they can keep that team ready, this is the year more so than ever. Given Anthony Davis's injury right now, that means he might be only 50-60% in the postseason. And that no. If it's a lingering injury that gets re-aggravated,
you must have talked to Clipper.
The chances of him having a re-aggravated injury are bad.
This sounds like
I'm leaving it like that.
take.
So yes, I think that it's a Laker Clipper side for the West, and I think the 76ers make it out of the East. And if I had to pick a team, I'm going at the Clippers 76ers.
Man, hey, Scoop, Clipper Daryl's our guy, and clearly they talked before this recording. So I'm sorry you had to hear that Clipper talk and hope that he has. So All-Star. Do we call it weekend or was it All-Star Day?
All-Star Day.
All-Star Day. What's your thoughts on the All-Star Day, and do you think the NBA got it right?
I thought it was forced, but I think the brevity was good considering the situation that they were in. A lot of players didn't want to play from that I've spoken to, but it was more along the lines of being appeasing because they know that the bigger or the long game or the bigger fish is, when they got to renegotiate, the collective bargaining agreement, and the only blemish on the player's part, as one person said, it was really and truly the fact that, the whole thing in China happened, but that wasn't really their fault. That was more on the sides of front office management. And, they feel as though, even though they were promised one thing, they showed face and did what they needed to do. I think the only thing they didn't do was Kyrie Irving, making himself available for media availability. But, really and truly, I think considering what they had to work with, I think they did a pretty decent job. There was a lot of 3-pointers taken. I swear the announcer every time down the court, 4-3. I'm like, it's crazy. But slam dunk contest was a little watered down to me. But we've been spoiled because of YouTube and just what we saw in 2000 with Vince Carter, in 2016 in Toronto with Levine and Aaron Gordon. But I think that Cassius, what he did on the court at 6'3", I thought that was magnificent. And I did like what Obi Toppin did as well. He just did it effortlessly.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I agree. I've been seeing Cassius since he was a sophomore at Harvard Westlake, and people don't realize he jumped off of one leg and he put the ball through that leg, like he eased through that leg, and he finished with the left hand. I think that kind of killed his momentum. And it was just really bad there. But Scoop, man, we thank you so much.
It was a rough All-Star week,
man.
Day.
Thank you so much,
WEAK.
Man. Week, facts.
I see what you did there.
Facts, I like that. But man, we thank you so much for joining us. Once again, let the people know exactly where they can find you and find your work, man.
Scoopy Radio, all streaming platforms every Thursday. Instagram Live, Bovada. Lisa Ann and myself will be talking sports lines and all that good stuff. 5 o'clock Eastern time, 2 o'clock Pacific time on Instagram Live. And follow me on Twitter at ScoopB, Instagram Scoop_B. And thank you for the opportunity to be myself.
Yeah, no, we love it, man.
Thank you for coming on and being yourself.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do this again, man. Sometime soon, especially with the playoffs going to be coming up fast. How time is moving. So,
man, you know what people just got?
What they get?
The scoop.
They got the scoop.
Scoop, there it is.
That's
Hey,
one
for
of the
real.
best commercials of the year, man.
Hey, we're
Oh,
gonna have to
man.
shoot you a promo, and that's what it's gonna have to be. Scoop. There it
Has
is.
anyone like photoshopped your face on in that commercial yet, or no?
No, they didn't Photoshop me on a bunch of other bullshit, but not that.
We're gonna have to do that.
Yeah. All right, I got you on that.
Yeah,
Let me get back to you in 20.
Chaka-laka.
Hey, so thank you for joining us, man. This episode of Don't Add Me, Michael and
It's been
Alex.
good, man.
Yeah, it's been really good. A lot of game given. Like I said, we're gonna have to run it back, man. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Yep. Have a good one, brother.
Bang.